The coming-of-age movie. One of the most universal and accessible stories in the film medium.
I'm never gonna get out of this town, am I, Gory?
The coming-of-age story invites an audience to watch a character grow over a period of time and hopefully, in some way, shape, or form, make them say, wow, I really related to that. Although, in most of these coming-of-age tales, the main character goes through a singular struggle, and by the end, he or she has been transformed and has fulfilled their character arc. And poof, that's it. They've discovered a new truth. Their character metamorphosis from adolescent to adult occurs and the credits roll. Their story for us is over. However, that's not always the case. On rare occasions, we get treated to multiple excursions with the lead character. If we're lucky, we get something truly special, where the lead character takes the audience by the hand and introduces us to the world through their eyes. And as the world evolves, so do they. As a new challenge arises, they are given the chance to meet it. As their norm shifts, we feel the fallout. Especially when that character grows with its audience. Few films do that better than the transformative beauty of the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy. Specifically in the subtle brilliance of Hiccup's trilogy-spanning character arc that initiates a connective tissue with its adolescent viewers. And fair warning, spoilers lie ahead. Looking at this series with nearly 10 years removed from the initial title, original adapters Dean DeBlois and Chris Sanders crafted Hiccup's coming-of-age story into what can be viewed as 3 distinctive arcs under the umbrella of the age-old passage between childhood onto adulthood. The first arc, of finding yourself. The second, growing up. And the final lesson, letting go. Granted, How to Train Your Dragon doesn't break new ground in terms of introducing this narrative device. Good examples of this include the Harry Potter series, or the original Star Wars trilogy. Yet it does this in such a groundbreaking way for animation that its importance cannot be understated. Hiccup becomes this conduit for an audience that is literally growing up alongside him. You know, just minus the dragons. It's something I haven't seen talked about enough in the great pantheon of coming-of-age films. And now that the story of How to Train Your Dragon has seemingly come to a close, now it's more appropriate than ever to dissect how the filmmakers evolved the character of Hiccup as literal, real-world time progresses over the span of a decade, from 2010 to 2019.
The note we got from Jeffrey Katzenberg on, I love this one, you can zoom into this. The line is, "You are my strength, you always were," from Stoic. It says, nice ending, just missing the story that gets us here. In order to make all this make sense, we have to go back and just take the father-son story and raise it to the surface and not let anything get in the way of complicating it.
Finding yourself. How to Train Your Dragon. Now, every compelling coming-of-age story has a compelling lead character with a plight that you attach yourself to. Be it Marty McFly or Elliot from E.T., we're always cheering for the underdog. It's in our nature. So creating a character that houses those underdog ideals and combats or questions societal norms is imperative. Which brings us to the distinctive originality of Hiccup as a character. Right out the gate, How to Train Your Dragon hits you with Hiccup's emotional need to be accepted as one of the tribe. With its beautiful visual contrast, the scrappy frame of Hiccup, voiced perfectly by Jay Baruchel, sticks out like a sore thumb amidst the gruff and tough exteriors of these Vikings, and nothing exemplifies that more than the hulking frame of his father and chief of Burke, Stoic the Vast. In an old USA Today article from 2009, Baruchel gave arguably the most apt description of where How to Train Your Dragon's Hiccup comes from. He's a square peg in a world where his attributes and virtues are viewed as failings and weaknesses. He is effectively seen as broken, struggling with trying to live up to societal and, more personably, parental expectations.
When you carry this axe, you carry all of us with you. Which means you walk like us, you talk like us, you think like us. No more of this.
You just gestured to all of me.
Despite living in a fantastical world, Hiccup deals with normal 15-year-old issues. Well, normal enough for a kid's animated feature.
Say, man, you got a joint?
Yeah, that'd be a pretty different movie.
And this is supposed to be a kid's movie.
Hiccup immediately becomes endearing to an audience as he yearns for universal themes of acceptance, belonging, and love. He wants his dad's approval. He has a crush out of his league. He tries to adopt the neighborhood stray. That's when he meets Toothless, the aforementioned neighborhood stray. Only he's a...
Get down!
Societal expectations dictate a Viking needs to slay a dragon if given the opportunity. And this movie's inciting incident gives Hiccup the chance to prove his worth to his father and his tribe. Yet when given the same opportunity, the young hero makes the single most important decision in the trilogy. He lets Toothless go. Hiccup defies the expectation of himself, set on by others, and instead crafts his own path by befriending the creature. It's this friendship that becomes a catalyst for his own journey into adulthood. It's truly the heartbeat of the series, as this relationship becomes this symbolic transition period between the two worlds he inhabits.
300 years, and I'm the first Viking who wouldn't kill a dragon.
First to ride one, though.
How to Train Your Dragon soars when it delves deeper into the relationships built between Hiccup and the characters around him. They each help him grow in different ways, and when Hiccup is at his lowest point in the script, his character arc in How to Train Your Dragon comes full circle. It's a possibly contrived story to be sure, but it's housed in a vessel so innocent and likable as Hiccup that it makes the journey all the more worth it.
I'm proud to call you my son.
Think of how many 15-year-olds at that time needed to hear that in 2010. He proves himself to his father, and he has redefined what a journey into adulthood looks like, not only for himself, but for others like him.
Turns out all we needed was a little more of this.
You just gestured to all of me.
Now, hear me out. Similar to The Breakfast Club, where our protagonists challenged society's expectations of themselves and instigated a change in their lives to a broken system, so it is akin to the story of Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon. He broke down tribal barriers and set a change in motion for years to come. Like most animated kids' movies, it could have ended there, but it didn't. We only saw a chapter in Hiccup's book, and just as in life, we evolve as individuals, and that's evident with Hiccup.
I thought by advancing the clock and re-meeting Hiccup at a point where he's facing another universal problem, one that we're all going to have to go through, this transition from youth and carefree abandon into adulthood with consequence. That felt to me like something that a lot of people could relate to, and it was an inner problem as much as it was an external.
Growing Up, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Cut to 4 years later as we open the next chapter in 2014, and those 15-year-olds are now 19. And oh boy, I'll have what Hiccup was having, because that is the dictionary definition of a glow-up. Wow!
Workout, plenty of rest, eat your green vegetables.
Aside from puberty hitting really hard, Hiccup's physical transformation gives the audience a visual cue that this is not the same Hiccup as before. The love and acceptance he yearned from his father has been obtained. His relationship with Astrid has taken a natural progression from acquaintance to friend to now love interest. Even the relationship at the heart of the movie, Hiccup and Toothless, has seen an evident strengthening by the symbiotic trust they have for each other. 5 in-universe years have gone by, and he, like most of the viewers watching, are now facing more mature obstacles in their lives. As an adult, he knows what his calling is, but now he must make that transition into the next part of his life, Chief of Berk. In this film, Stoic's tune has noticeably shifted. He fully believes his son is ready for the responsibility of chief, only encouraging his walk into adulthood. However, Hiccup sees otherwise.
It's not me, Astrid. All those speeches and planning and running the village, that's his thing.
I think you're missing the point. I mean, Chief. What an honor. I'd be pretty excited.
I'm not like you.
While he now walks the path onto adulthood, Hiccup still clings to the safety and naivety of his youth and how he wants to go about fulfilling his mission, which is find the dragons. How to Train Your Dragon 2 masterfully takes its audience on a mirror journey in how it displays the unyielding march of time on our characters. It embraces the change instead of cowering behind it. DeBlois was channeling The Empire Strikes Back in how they wanted a darker tone. His words, not mine.
And I think Empire Strikes Back is a great example of a movie that took something I loved and expanded it in every direction.
I mean, come on, the man got Drew Struzan to do teaser posters for the How to Train Your Dragon series.
Coincidence? I think not!
However, going with a darker tone in this instance would only be the smarter decision. The fans of the original have grown to where the questions of belonging have evolved into questions of how to deal with impending mortality and personal loss.
Stop! Snap out of it!
Hiccup!
Stop!
Son!
Dad! No!
Hiccup, to an end, is responsible for the death of Stoic. His childlike naivety in wishing to convince Drago to change his ways leads to our hero's most tragic hour. This loss propels Hiccup to not only come to terms with the consequences of his own actions, but he must now feel the full weight of adulthood that comes with the title of chief. By even pushing Toothless away, Hiccup faces a darker world in How to Train Your Dragon 2. It's not a world painted in black and white as the first. Shades of gray abound. Even with the reuniting of his mother, Volka, Hiccup suffers the loss of a parental figure, causing him to put even more stock into the lives of others.
I was so afraid of becoming my dad. Mostly because I thought I never could. How do you become someone that great, that brave, that selfless? I guess you can only try.
In the end, it's through being forced to grow up. Hiccup's symbolic relationship with Toothless strengthens even further. They have ascended beyond mere cowboy and his horse tropes, to almost becoming the closest thing this series has to brothers. However, the closer you get to something, the harder it will inevitably be to say goodbye.
And it made me recall the opening line of her first book, which was, "There were dragons when I was a boy." You know, if we could take this pair, Toothless and Hiccup, and take the audience on a journey toward separation and have them go along with us and not only support it, but kind of reach that conclusion emotionally themselves, that could stand the test of time.
Letting Go. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. From the get-go, while a less amount of time has passed in comparison to the jump between the original and the sequel, Hiccup's role as Chief of Berk has already proved to be a drastic change to his former life, and he's trying to adjust to it. So when Hiccup has to make the hard call and leave the island to protect his own, it's an automatic contrast to the shy little boy we were introduced to in the first movie. He essentially has to give up a dragon-human utopia to find another hidden world. With guidance from his mother and Astrid, who, let's be honest, has been his rock throughout the entire series, Hiccup is making decisions he could not have made in the original. However, letting go of the island, which in this case is the first step in letting go of the past, would only be a faint reflection of the foreshadowing to come. On first viewing, the movie really isn't even about the hidden world. Truthfully, it becomes a MacGuffin by the time the credits roll. Instead, it is more about what it is as a symbol than anything else. It's an unattainable paradise that humans should not enter. Throughout the movie, the two have been drifting apart, not by any malicious outside source, but just as friends do over time. Toothless has found, you guessed it, a female dragon, a light fury, and she represents a part of Toothless that Hiccup cannot be. And in the end, Hiccup has to let Toothless go.
You are the bravest, most stubborn, most determined knucklehead I know. Toothless didn't give you that, Hiccup. He just made it
easier.
And now it's gonna be a lot harder. So, what are you gonna do about it?
Probably something stupid.
Now that Toothless has found where he actually belongs, Hiccup has to make another difficult choice. Yet unlike the death of Stoic, where he had it thrusted upon him, he is given the opportunity to finally become that adult he knows he needs to be. And the two friends ultimately depart.
There were dragons when I was a boy. Where they went, only a few know.
Series director-writer Dean DeBlois wanted to tell this story similar to E.T. or Born Free. In a Variety article, he was quoted with saying, There are opportunities and unanswered questions that could warrant a larger story of Hiccup's coming of age, from the nuance, Viking run of his tribe, to the wise and selfless leader he's destined to become. It is only through the literal letting go of Toothless is his metamorphosis truly complete. Where his journey in this trilogy started, so must it end. In a way, the How to Train Your Dragon series gets that really right. Relationships and friendships are not forever, but the memory of them can remain a lifetime. Hiccup's trilogy evolution is one that ebbs and flows. His varying reactions when pressure is applied make this a coming-of-age story worth telling. In making a good script great, Linda Seeger hammers home that universal truth of a good character when she states, "Most stories are simple. However, characters impinge on a story, give it dimension, and move it in a new direction. Characters make a story compelling. Through a character's idiosyncrasies and willfulness, a story changes." That's what How to Train Your Dragon did. The coming-of-age story was done as well as any good story told. The caveat that kept it apart from everything else? The amount of time we were given in devotion to the character of Hiccup and his world of dragons. It's not necessarily the originality of the overarching story that keeps the audience there. It's the distinct characters and the universal trials they face that keeps viewers engaged over the course of a film. And in some cases, 3 films over the span of a single decade. I needed to see them finally put a cap on Hiccup's trilogy-spanning coming-of-age story. To see this awkward boy transition into the selfless leader everyone knew him to be. And as the credits rolled for the last time, I realized how truly special a series like this is. Being able to do what most animated films cannot do, and that is create a distinct and memorable overarching story. One that can take a single character over 3 films, and see a little bit of ourselves every time.